between Caleb Plant and David Benavidez. It's fights like this that make me so proud to be involved in the great.
I like that there's no bad blood. By the way, I feel that Caleb Plant would have been laid the fuck out in that big ass 22x22 ring if Kenny Bayless, who is now my least favorite referee of this era, didn't allow all that LGBTQ plus cis transgender, what is it? What all that hugging, all that intimacy. Like that, I was really getting untethered. Welcome, I'm TstreeTCONTROVERSY with Fight View 360. David Benavidez goes on to get a unanimous decision victory over Caleb Sweet Hands Plant, and both of these guys, former champions WBC for David Benavidez and IBF. David Benavidez actually lost his belt twice outside the ring, once to cocaine and second to missing weight. Crazy, and that may have been his Canelo shot. But if I'm being honest, let me see how Canelo looks against John Ryder. Because Canelo's got a lot of wear and tear on him, knee surgeries, wrist surgery, just overall big fights after big fights or significant fights. But I'm not ready to say David Benavidez can beat Canelo. But Canelo's not going to be doing all that holding. I really genuinely feel that Caleb Plant would have been knocked the fuck out. Like, and let me go ahead and say this, even though I feel better about Caleb Plant after the respect that both of the sides showed in the ring after this fight before we listen to the cards, I'm going to go ahead and say that I never was a fan of Caleb Plant. I've always seen him as being a good fighter, but not a special talent. And that's because the person that he beat, or the fighter that he beat in Jose Uzcategui, I never looked at him as being a boogeyman. I seen when Jose Uzcategui fought Matt Vikorabov all those years ago. I never saw him as being like, oh, you know, if Caleb Plant, let's listen to the cards. Take a time out, like the video, subscribe, and TstreeTCONTROVERSY with 5v360.
Are the score totals? Judge at ringside, Tim Cheatham scores about 115 to 113. Dave Moretti sees it 116 to 112. And Steve Weisfeld scores about 117 to 111. All three in favor of the winner. And still, the undefeated interim WBC super middleweight world champion, the Mexican.
See, now this is what it's all about. Show some love. You know, but as I was saying before we listened to the post-fight interviews, look, even after the fight, they're fucking hugging and shit. Still want to hug him. You know, Jose Uzcategui, right? Lost to Matt Vikorabov back in 2014. This was on the Terrence Crawford card. Was this Victor Postol? Top Rank TV? No, Yurkis Gamboa. But I never seen him as being like a boogeyman. He only got the boogeyman tag because he had got that DQ loss to Andre Dirrell. And then he ended up beating Andre Dirrell. But after that, really, like, how did he, like, think about it. Like, how did he become like a boogeyman off of what? So when Caleb Plant beat him, it was like, oh, Caleb Plant's going to be the motherfucking man. He beats Jose Uzcategui. But then he went on to fight Subway Mike Lee, right? Subway sports person. He went on to fight Vincent Fegan Boots. That was an IBF mandatory. Caleb Truax, real long in the tooth, you know, older at the end of his career fighter. He waited around, got that Canelo payday, then fought Anthony Dirrell, which was a solid win to me. A bigger win to me. That was a bigger win, in my opinion. Him beating Anthony Dirrell was a bigger win than him beating Jose Uzcategui. Damn sure him beat Mike Lee and Vincent Vegan Boots and Caleb Truax, but Anthony Dirrell, also an older fighter. And then he comes back to fight David Benavidez. Now, David Benavidez's resume is nothing, you know, special to write home about, but let's listen to the post-fight interview and we're going to go from there. Take a time out, like the video, subscribe. Very good card. I am going to rate this card a 9 of 10. I really thoroughly enjoyed this pay-per-view. You had the first fight with Abel Ramos, Abel Ramos losing to Cody Crowley. Shout out to Cody Crowley, who was dealing with some personal issues. You had Chris Colbert get a very controversial decision in a close fight. It was a robbery, and I can say a robbery because the wrong man lost the fight, got the decision in Rayo, Venezuela. I don't like throwing that term around in close fights, you know, where a fight could have went either way, but it was clear that Rayo should have won this fight. And then Joey Spencer, just masochist Spencer, just got his ass beat, wasn't throwing no punches, didn't want to fight. The type of ass whooping that I feel that it's going to haunt him for a long time. I don't think you can come back anytime soon from an ass whooping like that, but he's only 23 years old. And then David Benavidez beating via unanimous decision Caleb Plant. And I'm very glad that the Caleb Plant era is over. Let me tell you about Caleb Plant. He's the type of fighter, and one of the guys used to work with me interviewed him. He's the type of fighter that you'll say, well, Caleb Plant, you know, like if you win on Saturday night, he'd be like, when I win? And it's like, bro, I'm not your fucking flunky. I'm not going to say like, I'm not going to interview you and be like, Caleb Plant, when you win on Saturday night, it's like, bro, like, you know, and he comes across, you know how the saying goes, there's a thin line between arrogance and confidence. He's very close to, if not on that line of arrogance. And I gotta be honest, he's one of my least favorite fighters. Like, if not like one of my, I'm going to say problem. I'm trying to think, what fighter do I least like than Caleb Plant? I can't think of one off the top of my head. Like, he's just very like off-putting. And then he did some shit with some women on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, you know, like talking shit to them, talking about they should be making them sandwich. And it's like, bro. But let's listen to David Benavidez. But as I said, I've never been like a big fan of Caleb Plant. It was just something just off-putting about him.
What was that exchange right there at the end? And then we'll talk about the fight.
You know, first of all, I want to thank this whole beautiful crowd coming out. Man, this fight wouldn't have been like this if it wasn't for you guys. You guys made this fight happen. Second of all, I want to give a big shout out to Caleb Plant. You know I said that we weren't going to end the beef, but you know, we fought like warriors in the ring, and this guy's a fucking hell of a fighter.
You're a hell of a fighter as well.
Still hugging, motherfucker. Still hugging.
I'm happy that we gave the fans the best rivalry of the year, the best rivalry of the past 5 years. So I'm just very happy.
Is your hand all right? You still have your glove on?
No, I haven't had time to take it off.
Oh, okay. All right. There was a lot of holding in this fight, and it threw off your rhythm early, and then the referee never gave him a warning or anything, so you finally had to accommodate and just get used to it. How distracting and difficult was that?
Exactly. Kenny Bayless is a hell of a referee, but he didn't give Caleb Plant no warnings, not the whole fight.
He's on my shit list.
But I mean, it is what it is. I still had to work through it. He's a tough fighter, man. Had to figure out a way to get around that, but you know, we gave the fans a hell of a fight.
Were you concerned you were getting too far behind early on?
No. I know I had to take it. I had to take it step by step, round by round. You know, Caleb Plant is a tough fighter. He's not going to give you everything in the first couple rounds, so you're going to have to find him. But I feel like I just didn't show that I was a great power puncher tonight. I showed I had defense, head movement, and I was able to move around the ring and cut the ring really good.
Were you surprised that Caleb stayed on his feet?
Yeah, I hit him with a lot of hard shots. I mean, I would talk shit, but you know, I like this guy now, so I don't want to keep it going.
There was a lot.
Here's the scores. And the 115, 113 for Benavidez, 116, 112, 117, 111.
A lot of hatred and a lot. He seemed to get under your skin, quite frankly, before this fight. Why did it bother you so much?
Because we were never going to settle until we got into the ring, but we got into the ring, we settled it like men. I took his hardest shots, he took my hardest shots. The good thing is we're still standing at the end of the day.
Correct.
We get to go back to our families.
The cut that you inflicted in the 8th round, do you think that inhibited him the rest of the fight?
I think it was I was catching him with a lot of power shots, and then that's why I'm called the Mexican Monster, because I keep coming like a monster.
Well, how much does this validate you now to get the fight, since everybody had been avoiding you, and now are you the guy truly at 168?
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody I have a lot of respect for Canelo Alvarez, but he has to give me that shot now. That's what everybody wants to see, me versus Canelo. Let's make it happen in September.
You think he's trying to avoid you?
What?
You believe he's trying to avoid you?
I don't think he's trying to avoid me. I just believe he has a lot of options. But now the fans have been calling for this fight. The legends have been calling for this fight. So let's make it happen.
David, congratulations. Terrific
Thank you.
fight.
Y le quiero dar las gracias a toda la gente que me vinieron a apoyar esta noche. Los quiero mucho. Viva México y viva Ecuador también. Muchas gracias.
You know, I identify as a Mexican. Hispanic heritage. Y'all, I can do that. It's 2023. So that was a smarter answer by him because you don't want to piss Canelo off for him to be like, I'm not fighting him, you know. And David Benavidez has always been very respectful of Canelo, so that's what's up. It's a fight that I want to see. I think that David Benavidez has a chance because Canelo was definitely slowing down, and it is a pressure fighting style Canelo hasn't seen. However, how is David Benavidez going to be able to deal with those body shots? Now, that's a big height difference. You know, in fact, would you say that that's the biggest fighter? That would be the biggest fighter as far as height that Canelo has ever fought? David is definitely a legit 6'2", but let's look at his resume real quick. By the way, he's a 3-time champion, right? He lost his belt on the scale, lost his belt to Coke, and then he beat David Lemieux, who shouldn't have been in the first place for that interim. David Lemieux, he shouldn't have been, you know, he ain't getting no stripes. I like David Benavidez, but he ain't getting no stripes from me for beating David Lemieux. Karan Davis, Ronald Ellis, Romain Gulo, Anthony Durrell, Julian Love, Ronald Gavriel. Nothing on that resume that really speaks out. And even when you look at Caleb Plant, you know, like how really do you really rate Caleb Plant? I've already told you I really don't rate him that highly, but at the end of the day, I'm glad it's a fight that got done. I'm glad that both fighters didn't do no bullshitting around with the fight, and it's time for these fighters to start canceling each other and weeding each other out. So now, before we listen to Caleb Plant, where does David Benavidez go next? He is Canelo's mandatory. I think that if you don't get Canelo, then start as Errol Spence did, start cleaning up your side of the street. Boom, the David Morrell fight, right? Because at 168 ain't really nothing there unless we get David Benavidez versus Jamal Charlo. And Caleb Plant, I understand what you probably want to say. You know, Caleb Plant should fight Jamal Charlo if David don't fight him. But I think Caleb Plant's going to go back to rebuilding. You know, don't be surprised if we see him in some bullshit fights or rebuilding fights over the next couple of years. You know, at 175, I don't think he should be there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes up. You know, so who would he fight? The 168-pound division is pretty top-heavy. You know, it's pretty top-heavy. So expect for him to be a co-feature somewhere, possibly on a pay-per-view, for them to really build his name back up. You know, that's what I'm seeing. But David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade, who's now at 168. Jamal Charlo has shown interest in the winner, but will he fight the winner when he comes back, or will he, you know, David Morrell is right there. So David Benavidez has some fights, but if I was to personally choose, I want David Benavidez. Let me tell you something. If I was to personally choose, I think now this is just me, I would like to see David Benavidez versus David Morrell. But David Benavidez versus Jamal Charlo really gets my nipples hard too. I'm interested in that. Let's go listen to Caleb Plant to see what he had to say.
So
but that's what boxing's about. We got in here, we started like men. I take nothing from David. You know, we haven't been the best of friends, but we got in the ring and we started like men. That's what you're supposed to do.
Do you feel that your strategy was pretty successful, the ability to hold and stop all of the action for quite some time in this fight?
Yeah, I was trying to walk him when necessary, clinch him when necessary, throw my combinations when necessary. But, you know, when the best get in there with the best and you roll the dice, somebody's going to come out with their hand raised, somebody's going to come up short. And one thing I pat myself on the back for, I've got in there and I've rumbled with the best of them in the world. I haven't ducked nobody. And, you know, maybe we can have a rematch in the future.
How much did the cut just above your eye, distract you and bother you from the 8th round on?
Yeah, you know, I caught a headbutt and the blow was in my eye a little bit, but it's no excuse. David was the better man tonight, and I take nothing from him. And congratulations to him and his family. He's a hell of a fighter.
Caleb, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And, you know, that right there, you know, got me like, you know, like, okay, Caleb, all right, you're not so much on my shit list anymore. But I'm guessing that all the clinching, you know, was necessary because he did it the whole gosh doggone fight. It was necessary. With that being said, take your time out, like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at TstreeTCONTROVERSY. I'm actually kind of lively right now. So I had the card playing in the background, but now I'm going to watch Sanesa Superbad's fight, and Comey and Jose Ramirez. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. See you guys later.